Yo, what's good YouTube? Back again with another video, and today we're looking at the Attack Shark R5 Ultra. Here's what the box looks like. This is everything else that comes in the box besides the mouse. Obviously, here's the dongle. It's kind of a weird, crazy shape. I'm not really sure what they were going for here, but it is what it is. Here is a standard braided cable, and it is quite stiff, kind of like before paracords became a thing. They do go ahead and give you this crazy, like, keyboard style, custom keyboard style cable. Maybe if you wanted to go ahead and throw this on your keyboard itself instead of the mouse, then here's what it comes with. It comes with the manual and a set of white grips, which look a lot like the core pads grips, if I do remember properly. And finally, an extra set of skates, which I do like. I do appreciate the skates and the grips. I think, you know, the cable situation, the big ass dongle, could have sized down a little bit and dropped the price maybe $5 to $10 in my opinion. But this is what they decided to go with. This is what the dongle looks like plugged in. Got the little logo in there as well. That's what it looks like connected. Again, I would have preferred something more simple. Here is the Razer hyperpolling dongle, as well as the GPX2 high polling dongle. As you can see, this is just a massive waste of material here next to it. If it's not really serving any purpose, like a screen or something showing you your battery, polling rate, DPI, then like I said, it's just kind of a waste. I wish they would have cut costs a bit here. So for the mouse itself, obviously it's going to be a Finalmouse competitor. Obviously you can tell from the shape, the holes, there's really no hiding it. And note that there is another brand, the IPI Float, offering the same OEM at a much cheaper cost. You will have to get that on AliExpress though, which you can get for around 40 to 50. So do go ahead and choose that if you think that's a better bargain. So as for the build of the mouse is supposed to be carbon fiber composite, which is obviously, you know, taking inspiration from the Finalmouse Ultralight X, that is also carbon fiber composite. And from all the signs I can see on the outside, it really is that material. I'll go ahead and give it a squeeze test. And I could turn on the camera mic, but if you just take my word for it, there's literally no sound coming from this. And this is a budget mouse. The next test would be to kind of bend the holes on the back, which I'm going to do very lightly. I don't recommend doing this. But you can just kind of see the shape warping and popping back into place. I think the Finalmouse Ultralight X, the original batches, had a much worse version of this problem, but you know, it's not really a problem here. And you can just be confident that it's not plastic because obviously there's no like bruising of the material where you bent it or where I just bent it. You shouldn't bend yours. So yeah, it's all solid there. The bottom is going to be a plastic base. Obviously the wireless signal has to escape, so all these metal mice do feature that. So I'm not sure if it's required on carbon composite. Honestly, I don't remember. And you can see the skate design, obviously inspired by Finalmouse again. 4 corners, 4 pieces. I just don't know why they went with the black Teflon, which is going to be frowned upon. I personally like them and they're fine here. It is just strange that they throw in white PTFE feet as the extras. They probably should have just put these as the original. You can also see the DPI button, sensor ring, and the power. There's obviously the middle one is the USB symbol, the top one is the dongle symbol, and then the bottom one is Bluetooth, giving you that little blue flashing light. So if you want to be that weird guy at college who brings his gaming mouse to school, you can go ahead and do that with the Bluetooth. So honestly, in the build, it kind of killed it. I would have preferred the white feet to be default, obviously, but I think most people are going to swap these out for dots anyways if you are the kind of person in the market for this kind of mouse. And yeah, the carbon fiber composite build is kind of insane, actually. I'm really impressed with this, and I hope they bring this to more other shapes, other budget mice. And it's kind of incredible that you can get a carbon fiber composite mouse for just $70 or $50 if you go for the IPI variant. Last thing about the build, it's listed at 39. I do believe it is a bit heavier. So yeah, listed at 40 or 39 grams, but it is about 43 on my scale. Now, as for the internals, this is the 3950 flagship sensor. They're calling it the 3950 Max. I don't really know if there's a difference between all those, but this does go up to 42,000 DPI. Again, I'm not saying you should use 42,000 DPI. The max DPI is just a good indication of knowing which sensor is in there if you memorize which sensor has which max DPI value. As for the rest of the internals, the clicks are supposed to be omron opticals. The scroll wheel encoder is also supposed to be a dustproof encoder, which is very good. And finally, the mouse supports 1K up to 8K out the box with the software, the WebDriver, which I will show you later. But going back to the internals and the clicks, I mean, everything here just sounds like too good to be true, right? You get a 3950, you get carbon fiber composite, you get a mouse in the low 40-gram weight range, you get a dust-proof encoder, and it's a Finalmouse shape, and it's only like $70, $80, right? So what is the issue here is that these are actually not Omron opticals in the mouse. I'll try to show a few pictures. It's hard to see through the hole of the mouse, which is kind of funny that they ended up biting themselves in the foot by putting holes in the mouse, because you can see the switch name on the mouse, or the label on the switch is the D2FCF7N 100mm, which if you look it up is obviously going to be the mechanical Omron switch rated for 100 million clicks. Now, is that going to be a problem? You know, it's hard to say without doing a long-term review, and I don't really see myself using this mouse long-term, but I think it is, because the reason why you really want to get Omron opticals in a budget mouse or a clone mouse is because you just don't want to have to deal with post-purchase security, right? You can't really go to Attack Shark and be like, hey, can you replace my double-clicking mouse with the same confidence that you could with like Endgame Gear or Logitech or Razer? You know, they have more strict RMA policies, whereas these clone brands from China, they don't really have to reply to you at all, right? They have your money already. So in my opinion, that can be a very big game changer here. I will say for everything in the price, this mouse is still worth it, especially if you look at the competition. You have a WL mouse with the Beast X, and you have the Finalmouse Ultralight X. The problem with the Beast X is that it has poor battery life, but you can get Omron opticals, and you can now get the Beast X Pro. That's going to give you solid size, which is a huge buying factor in my opinion. But the Beast X models are obviously going to be around $160, whereas this is like $75. The Finalmouse itself, obviously you have to wait for it to be in stock, and then you have to kind of fight your way to order one. And then on top of that, you're kind of playing the QC lottery every time you buy one. Kind of tough to beat this for like $73 is what they're listing it at right now. Now I'll go ahead and show you the software. Once you find the product page, you just have to click the WebDrivers link. And once you have the WebDriver link, obviously everything's here. Basically just looks like a standard, you know, OEM WebDriver. I think WL Mouse looks basically exactly like this. And then Lamzu is probably going to look pretty similar. Do get everything: DPI, polling rate, profiles, debounce time, sleep time, LOD, ripple control, angle snap, motion sync. I just have all of those off. Me personally, I don't like them. The good thing is that you do get the 0.7mm LOD setting. I do have the debounce at 0, and I haven't had any double clicks. So if you're worried about the Omron opticals, not being opticals, at least in the short term, it hasn't been an issue. But yeah, this is kind of a quick one because like I said, it is very impossible to like kind of not recommend this for $75. You basically get the Finalmouse shape, the Finalmouse material, the carbon fiber composite, whatever you want to call it. You do get the 3950 with very good performance. You just don't get those Omron opticals, and you have to use Omron mechanicals. And as for the buttons, they don't feel the best. They just have a bit too much pre-travel. But that kind of just bugs you a little bit more because, you know, if you're going to use mechanical switches in place of optical switches, it should be because the click feel should be good, right? You look at a company like Endgame Gear who's still using mechanicals, and part of the reason why they use mechanicals is because their clicks just feel so damn good, right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Peace out.